it's always about relationships, and it's always about, how do you support and grow and heal and evolve and understand each other, right? And it's when two people, no matter where they are in the world, come together to build a bond or connection, a relatability, right? Because you're in Europe and I'm here in the US, and completely different extremes of life, and we find a relatable way to be able to form that connection. And I believe it's walking into everything with the curiosity to understand.
Hmm.
So, and that's how I treat myself these days. It's not how I always did, but it's how I do today. So it makes it easier to treat others that way when we treat ourselves that way.
Yes.
I firmly believe that we treat others the way we treat ourselves.
Mm.
So,
Yes, if we understand ourselves, we understand the other ones, no?
well, when we take the time to understand ourselves,
Mm.
right, in
Hmm.
an objective way, not in a harmful, blaming, shaming, guilting, painful way, but like just being open to the experience, whatever comes along.
Yes, yes.
So sometimes it's making it playful, sometimes it's laughing at ourselves, sometimes it's crying, sometimes it's journaling, sometimes it's just working our way through it, whatever it is, sitting in that space and being okay with it and
Hmm.
just evolving through it. And it's not a perfect process. There is no perfect answer. There is no perfect way. There's just the way you do it. We are how we live.
Yes,
Our actions define who we are, not the words we say. So
yes.
not the
Well
titles we
said.
hold.
Yeah. And I read your, I was going through the program with
Mm,
tranquility. I still, well, I have not answered the questions, no, but I've been reading through it with tranquility
mm-hmm.
and just missing the last section. But it has lots to do with what you're saying now, and it's you that created the program. So, of this really looking inside, no, the journaling and the really the observation from um, a more superficial level from where we start, and then going more deep, no, into the
Yes.
awareness and acknowledgement, and which is has to be practiced and explored and experienced, but you put it in a very nice, down to earth, human way, because you have
Well,
lived it and you are living it. So you
well,
are walking.
I live it daily. I mean, I
Yeah,
still all the tools that are in there and exercises that are in there. That's my way of life.
yeah,
So it was easy to create when it's my way of life. And
yeah.
I see the internal results from from where I came from to the work I've done to where I am today and where I'll be tomorrow and where I'm headed and where I'm going and growing to, right? And where I'm evolving through. So it's always comes in phases. There is no just straight linear line. There
Mm-mm,
is no,
mm-mm.
let's just be positive all the time. Sometimes you just gotta be exactly where you are and
Yes,
just be okay with it
yes.
and find a way to be authentic about it, but not hide from it either.
No,
Like you don't need to be somebody else for somebody else. You just
no.
have to be yourself for yourself.
Yes.
And you'll attract those that either resonate with it or that don't. And
Mm-hmm.
that's it. And it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Perfect doesn't exist.
No, no,
So
no.
you just roll with it. You live in
Yes.
it.
You live in it and you acknowledge, you get aware, you see, and you live in it. Yes.
I always say you go from, when you go from unaware to self aware, and the first stage of self awareness is dirty. It's really a dirty it's really a dirty process when you first become self-aware because you start seeing all the stuff you hid from yourself,
Yeah.
right? The things that you wanted to ignore because there's toxic positivity, the things, lean into your strength, ignore your weaknesses, all these things that we're getting told by the world because it sounds good. But the reality is it's all built on a false foundation. So when you move into self-awareness, it's a very dirty process at first. And if you don't have a good group, a good coach, a good mentor, a good family, a good something around you that's going to keep you grounded through the process, then you're in trouble
Mm-hmm.
because you can get stuck in the dirtiness
Mm-hmm.
and then turn your back on yourself again and go right back to where you just were. But the
Yes.
reality is you can't unsee what you've already seen.
Yes. Yes.
So it gets harder if we try to run from it. So and I spent decades running from myself. So, when I really look at it, it's a process, and it went from unaware to self-aware to now compassionately self-aware. I mean, I think there was a version in there of me like being hyper aware and judging and blaming and shaming all myself to death, and
Yeah, me too.
just gave myself more to heal, right? And so at some point you lift those reins off and release control of the process, because
Yes.
controlling everything just crushes it. So it's taking that step back and looking at it from like a bird's eye view, that observer role, and observe our own actions and start living into something different. Because
Hmm.
we our mind is a crazy place, and science says that there's 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, and I have ADHD, so it's probably more like 150,000. And it's one of those things where you just got to take it one step at a time. That's all you can do. So, and you just got to do the best you can with it all. There is no perfect, again.
Mm-mm.
So we're sold this version that we have to be perfect, that life has to be perfect, that we have to
Yeah.
be perfect, that you're not allowed to make mistakes, you're not allowed to have fail, you're not allowed to fall on your face. And for me, I don't even use the word failure. To me, it's just
Mm-hmm.
lessons.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
Yeah, yeah.
lessons. And
That's
what am I learning from this experience? What am I learning from the last one? What am I going to learn in the future? And that's part of the enjoyment of life is, releasing the control and releasing the manipulation of ourselves.
mm-hmm.
Because it really comes down to where we manipulate ourselves. And that's really a lot of the problem.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
that's where, we start lying to ourselves. We start pretending that's not what we are. We start trying to be something that we're not. And it really harms us in the long run because we never love ourselves in the process. So for me, it's, when I created this, it really was just the steps I took and the journaling styles I used. And I mean, I worked with between 40 to 50 coaches. I went through 40 to 60 books. I went through all these different modalities and ways, and just learning and evolving and moving into a space of self understanding, because I call spirituality the journey of self understanding.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
keep it
Like
simple.
it.
I keep
Yeah, yeah,
I try to
yeah.
keep everything simple.
Yes.
We like to complicate things, but
Yes.
all it does is confuse us, and it makes
Yes.
things seem hard. And I don't like the word hard or easy, because it just makes things those. When we tell our mind that's what it's going to be, it is. So I just look at everything as it just is. There is no hard, there is no easy, it just is. But it's taken a while to get here. I went from hating myself for the first 40 years to August of 2020 for the first time saying I love myself, then August of 2021 falling in love with myself, being blind, ignoring all the flaws, right? Going into that ego space and really just thinking that I had the best thing since sliced bread. And then 2022 at my stroke, when I had my stroke and I started healing myself through it, I moved into a space of unconditional self love, where I released every single condition. Do I want to lose weight? Yes. Do I want to eat better? Yes. Do I want to quit smoking? Yes. Do I love myself any less for not doing those things? Absolutely not. Because I'm perfect exactly the way I am. I'm perfectly me. I'm the only one of me that's ever existed. And we all are.
Yes.
But we're not taught that. We're taught to chase.
Yes.
So,
We're taught to change ourselves for something outside
yes,
and not to
always.
love the inside.
Yes,
The imperfect, perfect being with it that we are. We are
100%.
perfectly perfect.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful process.
Yeah. It's a very nice process. Yes.
I call
And
it tragically beautiful.
yeah, that's nice.
Because you have to grow through the pain, but we look at pain as the worst thing in the world, when pain is really the beauty of the journey,
Mm-hmm.
because that is where the growth and the lessons and the learnings come from, is the
Yeah,
pain that we go
it's
is right.
shows
It's
things in the face.
100%.
Yeah. Uh, and one thing you were when I was reading and you were now explaining, what I also liked about the program and what you wrote is that it's not one size fits all, because at the end it's you writing and answering you for yourself in your way. There are some guidelines and because of journal, but it's you reflecting, you seeing, you observing, you you yourself, understanding it's you in your way, to love yourself, to respect yourself, and then to also to understand and to leave control off from your life, because you're not going anywhere with the control.
One of the things that I paid a lot of attention to when I was creating it was, how did I ask myself these questions? Not how am I going to ask somebody else, but how did I ask myself? Because if somebody's reading it, I want them to be able to ask themselves. I don't want me to have to ask them, right? I want them to be able to go inward and come up with their own solutions and answers. I want to inspire people to be self-inspired. I want to empower people to be self-empowered. I don't want them to think they need me to be anything that they are, and we're taught that codependency so deeply in our systemic ways across the world,
Yes.
all over the world. And, for me, it's becoming that interdependence, which is the goal, because you can go to hyper independent and it's not healthy either. So you need to find that interdependence where you're whole and embodied on your own, but you interact and connect with all around you. Humans, animals, whatever it is, trees, nature, right? There's a relationship with everything. Everything has an energetic vibration. So it's living in, finding your peace within it all, which is not easy in the world today.
No.
But it's easier than we make it out to be at the same time.
Yes.
I mean, people go around the world paying to learn how to breathe. What's breath work if it's not learning how to breathe? But you pay somebody to teach you because you think they know how to breathe better than you know how to breathe. You wouldn't be living if you didn't know how to breathe. So you're obviously doing something right. Give yourself some credit. Have some acknowledgement, understanding yourself, appreciation, have some self-love and acknowledgement, meditation. So you don't have to sit still. I mean, that's really all you're doing, is paying somebody to teach you to sit still.
Yes.
Like, I mean, you did it in elementary school. You did it in preschool. You did it when your parents got mad. Why can't you just sit still? Like, that's all that these things are, but we overcomplicate it so everybody has an external value. But when we take a step back, it has nothing to do with an external value. Our value has nothing to do with our external value. Our value is who we are at our core, our energetic field, how we impact others, how we live our life. It's the action. Love is a verb. It's not an adjective. You have to put action into love, including self-love. And if you're not showing yourself love, then you don't have self-love. It's that simple. There is no middle ground. There is no gray area. It's either unconditional or conditional. And those are the choices you make in life. If I get this job, I'll love myself more. If I get this house, I'll love myself more. If I make this money, I'll love myself more. You're missing the point. You're not loving yourself at all.
No.
You're creating more obstacles between you and yourself.
Yeah.
You're disconnected, which is what society wants us to do. Like we discussed in our first conversation, it's what society wants. It's us to disconnect.
Yeah.
Because the more we disconnect, the more we can be manipulated and controlled.
The less center we have, and when you don't have a center, you are like a flag with the wind.
Yeah.
No, you can be.
You're easy. You be pulled and pushed in any direction. Because the minute you start buying into those ideas, what other people want, you already got lost because you don't know what you. Half of the people that probably buy houses have no idea where they're buying them. It's just that's what they were told was the next step to do.
Yeah.
And then you're in debt for 30 years, 40 years, whatever the mortgage is, and you are locked into paying that off. So then you're trapped, and people don't look at things that way, but it's how I see things now.
Me too.
It's not how I used to, but it is now.
I think from school or so, we are born, I think, centered in ourselves, loving ourselves, but throughout life, with everything and the way we are educated, we unlearn so many things, or we learn many things. That then in certain point in time, I hope that majority, at least has happened to you and me, and to me, we start seeing that there's something different, not the outside, but there's something inside. And we start observing and going inside until well, anti-normal because we still continue, but there's this understanding and seeing what's happening around and the manipulation, so many things in society.
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's many quotes out there. There's many authors. There's many people that say stuff like this, and I'm not sure who's is who. So I'm not going to give credit to any, but I'll give credit to all of them. So there's very few original thoughts that anybody ever has, right? It's our perception of them. You know, we spend the first half of our life growing up, wanting to be adult, and then we spend the second half of our life learning how to be kids again. So the quicker we find ourselves, and the quicker we find our joy, the quicker we find our passion, the quicker we move into that place of being.
Yes.
And that's not what societal structures want,
No.
because it doesn't feed into their machines.
No.
And they've created machines, and we're programmed and reprogrammed and rewired all throughout school and generationally, because our perception is unique to us. So no matter what our parents did, there's a generational trauma and perception there. There's a gap, there's a difference, so it creates these internal things. And that is our trauma. That is our reaction to it. Because all trauma is how the nervous system reacts to a specific circumstance. When we don't feel safe, we create anxiety, we go into depression, we feel sad, we feel this, we feel that. Those are feelings. But what is the root that's bringing you there? And the quicker that you can identify these roots and what the triggers were and work through those triggers, and in my mind, forgive ourselves, because what I feel like, the biggest part of my process, I mean, every step has its purpose, but the self-forgiveness to me is key,
Yeah.
because that's where you really build your self-love and
Mm-hmm.
refine your unconditional self-love,
Mm-hmm.
because we hold so much against ourselves.
Yes.
I was blaming myself for my mother abusing me when I was a kid. I was shaming myself, guilting myself, because there were times the only attention I knew how to get was negative attention.
Mm-hmm.
So I would antagonize her to create it. And whether it was misbehaving, whether it was acting out, whether it was doing something that she specifically told me not to, it was all to get the attention, because that's the only way I knew that I was loved.
Yeah.
Because not enough people in different generations, even this generation, I'm not going to pretend, ask their kids, how do you receive love?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like that's where the disconnect is. We always say, well, they're kids, they're not ready for those topics. But when I was a kid, I heard those topics. When I
Yes.
was a kid, I was ready for those topics. So why am I allowing society to remove that autonomy for my children? Because really what that does is, what I've learned through this process of my three children and being a solo parent and helping them heal through their trauma, is they know so much more than we do. Like, I'm not even going to pretend. Like, they don't do homework. They all have straight A's. They all, well, maybe not straight A's. I think there's like one C thrown in there, whatever subject they can't stand, obviously. But they never do homework, but they get everything right and they absorb it, because all I do is support them in what they want.
Mm-hmm.
I don't fight them. I don't want the aggravation. I have enough aggravation in my life.
Yeah.
Like, being human is tough.
Yeah.
It's a very dense plane. Like, you get sick, you get tired, you don't sleep enough, you get stressed, right? Stress is how we perceive external pressure is stress.
Mm-hmm.
And this world desires to create stress,
Yes.
because when it pushes you into fight and flight, then you can't pause and respond.
Yes.
You're just living in a reactive space, trying to keep up, trying to get by, trying to be who everyone else wants you to be, not who you're meant to be. And I feel like that's where so much gets lost.
Yeah.
That's where leadership doesn't understand itself.
Mm-hmm.
That's where leadership gets lost in itself. That's where these things just don't make sense.
Mm-mm.
And but unfortunately, people don't see it. They
Because
don't want to see it.
yeah, because like what you said before, they're now in the loop, and
Mm-hmm.
like you said before, it's very difficult to stop and see yourself, to see yourself in the mirror and tackle those things that you know you have, and to discover that it's you at the end that are hurting yourself. That's too much. It's easier always to say, it's this guy that is not doing well. Is this the leader? It's not me.
Pointing is always easier.
Yeah.
We're definitely lacking accountability in
Yeah.
this generation more than I feel like, I mean, I'm 44. I don't know how old you are, and I'm not going to ask because that's really inappropriate. It's your podcast also. So, like, but the reality is that generation and generations, probably if you go back one or two, there's almost no accountability. It was that person's fault. And then you go younger than that. And what I realized was watching the generational trauma in my family that I was raised with, my adopted family, it
Mm-hmm.
was every other generation went to one extreme or the other.
Mm.
I'm never going to hit you. All I'm going to do is hit you. I'm never going to. You don't have to go to school. You have to go to school. It's opposite extremes,
Mhm.
and we push. There's no middle ground. There's no desire to understand, and we blame and shame everyone before us rather than just taking accountability for ourselves.
Yes.
I made choices. I screwed up in lots of ways, but those were also the greatest lessons, and I'm
Mhm.
honored. You
Mhm.
know, I'm
Mhm.
honored to be able to be in a position to learn from them.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think that's the gift. I think that is the real gift, is when we're able to sit back and learn. We stop labeling mistakes and failures and achievements and awards. We stop labeling all those
Mhm.
things,
Mhm. I remember.
and we just be
Yes.
within it. And
Yes.
we just accept it all as part of ourselves. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yes. I love that, and it's that spirit. That's spirituality, and it's how you describe it. For me, that's spirituality. It's not the woo-hoo guru meditation, whatever. No, no. Spirituality is growing yourself. Be accountable for yourself, and because as you are for yourself, you are for everyone else, but you are for yourself. So
100%.
and you grow, and everyone else grows around you. Because at the end, it's also I'm the example of what I want to see. You are the example of what you want to see, because we are walking our talk.
Yes. We live,
And
we live,
that,
we
that's
embody and live it, right?
yes,
So but it's a different way than how most of society lives today. Like I
yes,
oversimplify, if you know how to breathe, then you can do breath work. Breath work is breathing with intention.
mm-hmm,
So if you don't know how to set intention, then you're obviously not going to be able to grasp it. But you're paying somebody to show you how to set intention
mm-hmm,
and to be thought conscious and aware of the gift that breathing is. But nobody tells you the secret. The secret is you are alive, you are breathing. That is the gift.
yes,
Like, but we're not taught that.
no,
In school, they don't teach us to love ourselves, to find our worth. They teach us to chase achievements. They teach us to chase what everybody else thinks of us,
yes,
and bullying and all these different things. And that's when it comes into play,
mm-hmm,
because we care so much about what everyone outside of us thinks rather than just being it for ourselves.
yes, yes. And it's not only that we care, because we were showed to care about the external and not our internal. It's also because we are showed to be in fear,
Mm-hmm.
no? Because fear is the number one control tool, no? So to be in
Yes.
fear of what everyone else is saying about you, and to fear to dare to be who you are, to fear
Mm-hmm.
to be who you are. So the thing is, again, we go into accountability. I start being, and I then discover that there's nothing to be in fear.
No. Everybody's all worried about themselves anyway. They're not worried about you. What do they care? They
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
care what you do. It's all in our own head. We make all
Mm-hmm.
this stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
1% of the time that somebody else is thinking of us. Like, and that's it. Like, but we make it this grandiose thing where they spend all day talking and thinking about us.
Yes.
That's just not how it works. You can be madly in love with someone and not do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean,
Yeah,
the
yeah. I cannot.
cartoons when I was a kid, Pepe Le Pew is what I think of in my head. The skunk that had the hearts everywhere with
Ah,
the
yeah,
female
yeah. The
skunk.
skunk. Yeah.
That's all. For some reason, that's what I
Monsieur,
think of.
Monsieur,
Yeah.
l'amour,
Yes.
l'amour.
It was. But yeah. But like, when we get like that, and we're still not thinking about somebody else all day, every day. Like, but we over grandiose ourselves, and we try to again be what everybody else wants us to be.
Yeah,
When do we get to just be?
yeah.
When do we get to appreciate everything that we are for everything we are?
Yes.
because we're amazing.
Yes.
We're perfect exactly the
Yes.
way we are,
Yes.
other than when everybody else tells us we're not.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's their issue. Once we
yeah,
are,
I mean,
when we are in the being, that's their issue.
yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm not really concerned with what anybody thinks of me.
No,
I
no,
don't
no.
care.
Yeah.
I don't care if people pay me. I don't care if they don't pay me. I don't care if they want me to coach them. I don't care if they don't want me to coach them. It's not about me. They're either ready or they're not ready. They want to do the work or don't want to do the work. I offer my work for free to whoever wants it. When they want to be guided through it is when I charge people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want the world to shift. I don't care
Mm-hmm.
how it happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about me. I can't do it for anyone else. I can do it for myself
Yes,
and live it every
which you
day.
do.
And I have a
Which
six
you do.
I have a 6 year old that throws in my face also, so that helps.
Mm-hmm.
Because Dad, you're having a bad day, go journal. Dad, you're having a bad day, go meditate. Dad, you're having a bad day, go write a self-forgiveness letter. It's so funny to me. Cracks me up. She's 6 years old and she has her own trauma that she has to deal with, but she knows that
Yeah.
there's healthier alternatives out there. And that's probably the greatest achievement I've ever had in my life. Is that my kids know that there are healthier
Yeah.
ways to heal.
Yeah. Because
So
they see it in you. They
yeah,
they saw it
I
in you.
live it.
You are living it, and they see it. At the end, if we are living it, it's the way we positively impact everyone.
Well, I mean, I'm also transparent with them.
Yeah.
Like so many parents look at their kids and say, it's not my job to tell you what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
But if you share with them what you're doing, then they're
Mm-hmm.
curious and want to understand.
Yeah.
Like, stop pretending you have to hide from them.
Yeah.
You know, I used to say, hey, my 6 year old is Sid. Hey, Sid, I got to go write a letter. Okay, well, who are you writing a letter to? I said, myself. She goes, what do you mean? And I said, well, it's a self forgiveness letter. And she goes, oh, does that help you? And I said, well, you tell me and I'll go do it. And I come back and she'll go, you feel better. And I said, well, there's your answer. It's what works for me. And she goes,
Mm-hmm.
well, will it work for me? I'm like, not the way you write yet. You're only 6, but maybe at some point when you can read your own handwriting too, that might help. But like, I mean, you're going to get there when you're ready. But that's how you bring curiosity is by sharing your experience.
Yes.
And parents are so terrified to meet their kids on a level because they feel like the only way their kids are going to listen to them is by pushing that fear.
Mm-hmm.
And they get played by the system and then
Mm-hmm.
they push the fear on their kids.
Mm-hmm. True. True. Don't do that because if not, you're going to fall.
Mm-hmm. You're going to get hurt. You're going to do
Yeah.
this. You know what, though? If they don't get hurt, they're never going to learn. Let them fall. Let them hurt. Let them bleed. Let them break a bone. Let them fall out of a tree. Whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if they're always scared of playing, then they're never going to want to play. If they're scared of bad grades, they'll never get a bad grade and need to learn something else or need to learn what their weakness is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a gift to know your weakness.
Yes. Yes.
To always focus on your strengths is painful and
Yeah.
torturous and
Yes.
boring. It's actually boring too. There's
Boring.
no fun in being good at everything.
No, no. You're not learning, no? If you're being good in everything, there's
Right.
nothing to
Exactly.
jump and to challenge yourself and continue expanding.
100%.
Yeah.
It's a joy. It's one of the joys of life is finding new mistakes to work on.
Mhm.
It's a great journey.
Yes. Thank you so much, Michael. And I also want to thank you from the heart for having given me the opportunity to see your program and to have it. Um, really appreciate it, and it really feels very, very. I don't know how to say it, but well, it has all your experience, it has your living behind it, and it is so open for anyone to do it for themselves, for themselves, and for themselves. Let's say alone, and also for them, accountable, no, to look inside and to grow.
It's there for anyone that wants to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Will it be the only thing you ever need to do for yourself? I'm sure it won't,
Mm-hmm.
but it can get you on the right path. And
Yeah.
that's a start.
Yes.
That's a start.
Yes.
When you start the journey, it gets addicting. You don't really want to stop.
Yeah.
You get
Yeah. I
bored with
know that.
life.
Yeah.
Life gets boring. Life gets boring after a while. So you got to find new ways to work on yourself.
Yeah, yeah, and to see it, no, because it happens to me if, when I journal and you wrote it and you have it there. When I journal is when I'm able to order my mind to see things that usually those are
There's
thoughts
blinders,
that are
right?
just blah, blah, blah. But when I write, I see them and I have many aha moments.
Yeah. I mean,
Technology.
100%.
Yeah,
That's what it's all about,
yeah,
is those aha moments. Without those, what are we here for?
yeah.
So it's a beautiful thing to do and be a part of. And I really it is my life. It's my way of life.
Mhm.
It's those are real examples in there. That's
Yeah.
really circumstances I was in. It's real everything. Like it's what I've learned from my 44 years on this planet. Well,
Mhm.
43 because I wasn't 44 when I started this. I don't think. Oh no, I was. Okay, yeah. But yeah. So
Roller coaster.
thank you. Yes, thank you so much. I
Thank
appreciate
you,
it. I
lovely
loved
one.
having this conversation.
You have a beautiful heart. I love you. Thank you.
Thank you.